Hello everyone. It is um, it is Friday, and I normally excuse me. I normally don't do a video on Friday. It's always been a Monday, and I weigh in on Mondays. And I just thought I'd come in here and kind of I was had some moments of uh, reality check here. I went to go see my primary doctor yesterday, and he was very happy with how things are working out for me and how my blood pressure's been and my sugar. And he did not want to take me off my medication for my diabetes yet. He said he wants to wait. He wants to wait a little while and see how that that works out. And I'm still on my blood pressure medication. I went to go see my bariatric doctor today, and he was also very pleased with how I'm exercising. And he said that my weight is coming off okay. It's what he would expect. I um, I weighed in today at 185.8, and I believe on Monday it was 188 point something. But anyway, I don't normally weigh in until next Monday. So let's see how I do. I'm doing good right now. I had I wanted to share a little something with you, and I know I've mentioned it before in the other videos, and um, so I know some of you, if you watched all my videos, have known that I've had a couple strokes. The first one that I had, it left me with weakness on my left side and with aphasia. If you guys are familiar with aphasia, um, it's usually it's like you're. I feel like sometimes I'm a prisoner in my own head. Um, I have a lot of things I want to say. I have to think them um, and wait sometimes, and they don't come out the way I want them to, at the rate or the speed that I want them to. And sometimes I'll repeat the same thing over, and sometimes I'll pause, and it almost seems like my plane took off, and it'll land again sometime soon, I hope. and and I have a sense of humor about it, But anyway, I on my first when I had my first stroke, I was off work for about 8 months, I believe. Um, I had a lot of therapy, and had home therapy first because I couldn't get out my house, couldn't get out of my house in the stairs and stuff. So I'd had home therapy, and then and I went back to work against my doctor's um, advice. He didn't want me to go back to work. He just thought that I was not ready yet. But I said I'm ready, and I was almost like kind of like, because when you work for the state, you only have a certain amount of time that you can be off within a 5 year period. And I've had been off a few times, hospitalized because of my blood pressure and also some heart problems. And I was reaching that the 6 month period where no, I wasn't off for 8 months. I was off for, I think, yeah, I might have been for it might have been it might have been 8 months. And I was reaching that period where I needed to make a decision. I was either going back to work or I wasn't going back to work, and then I'd have to give up my position, and the state would hold it for me for 2 years. They would hold it, and the 2 years I had to come back, and I had to do that position without any problem. And so I needed to make a decision quick, and I chose that I wanted to go back to work. I needed to, I wanted to, I could not. I love my job. I had been doing it for 22 years, and I just couldn't. Um, I couldn't see myself without it. I wasn't going to be the same without my job, and I decided, okay, I'm going to give it a try, and I'm going to do it. So I did. I went to work with a walker, and the problem wasn't on the outside, and being to work with a walker was just fine, but the problem was up here. I wasn't the same person. Um, and it wasn't until I got back to work that I realized that I can't do this job. I can't do this job how I used to do it before. I'm not going to be able to um, be the same person that I was. And I tried, and I had lots of help from my coworker. There was only two people that did the type of work we did. We were agricultural employment specialists. That's what we were. We were egg workers, we called it. And I was the top seniority. And there's only 18 of us in the state of Michigan. And she helped me out as much as she could. And I realized that I wasn't, when a grower, you know, would come in, a farmer, and he was, we would have to have called him in for some reason. And mine at that time was that I had a worker that was working for him, and he wasn't getting paid what he should have been getting paid. So I had to call the grower in to be able to get his statement. And I realized during getting the statement that I was taking information and it wasn't right, and the social securities weren't correct, and the telephone numbers weren't correct. I was transposing the numbers, and I I had my friends step in and help me. And that wasn't the only time that was, I would have a group of workers come in, and we would do a group um, registration, and I would put somebody else's social security number and somebody else, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to, I was having problems. So I went home, and I did a lot of thinking and soul searching and trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? What is there what is there left to do? And within a few months after returning back to work, I think it was like probably 7 months, I had another relapse. I had another stroke, but that one was uh, they were actually able to go in there and use the blocker. I mean, the one that you normally they have to use it within a time frame, and it would have been 3 hours, and I was in that time frame, and they used it, and I recovered from that one, but I was not able to go back to work, and that's when the reality hit in. I wasn't able to. Um, I had aphasia, and and I had lost the ability to be able to read something and store that information. I used to love to read, and I realized that I couldn't do it anymore. Um, I couldn't take in information at the rate that was required of me, and that I was able to do in the past. So I had to. The doctor made the decision that he wasn't gonna release me to go back to work. And when you work for the state, like I said, you only have a certain amount of time. Even though they knew that I was gonna hold my job for 2 years, um, I knew I wasn't going back, and that was very, very hard on me. Um, I um, I couldn't accept that, and I went into deep depression, and I went into a mourning state, that I was mourning my work. I didn't think I was anybody after it, and I wasn't, you know, I was not the same person. Even though here I was, but here I wasn't. And this didn't work in the same order. So I did the worstest thing that I could have done, and at the moment um, I didn't even think about it, but I tried to commit suicide. And even though it's very hard for me to admit that, I tried to commit suicide, and I ended up in the hospital on a ventilator, on life support. And when I came out of, you know, that mess I got myself into, I had, I knew that I had been drinking a lot, and I was drinking, I was a weekend drinker, but now that I wasn't working, I would find myself drinking during the week, and wasn't good for what I just had. So they admitted me to a psychiatric unit, and you know, I don't know if it's the same anywhere else, but I know in Michigan, if you try to commit suicide, you will end up in a psychiatric unit if you survive. You can voluntarily go in, or you can be court ordered to go in. And when you get court ordered to go in, you get court ordered to come out. But if you sign yourself in, because you're given a choice, you can come out in 2 weeks. But that's what they tell you. But it doesn't work that way, because you can go in voluntarily, and you can sign. You're going to be able to sign yourself out in 2 weeks, like you said. Like I said, 2 weeks. But if that doctor feels that in 2 weeks you are not capable of still taking care of surviving in the outside world, he will court petition the court to keep you in there until he decides you're ready to go. Well, I ended up just going for 2 weeks, and they did decide that I was able to, you know, seek outside help and go to outside counseling, and I did so. I I think I'm gonna have to do this in 2 videos. You know, I was hoping that I didn't have to, that I could just then my rambling and my venting wasn't gonna take this long, but it did. So I'm gonna cut it here, and I'm gonna do another video. So bear with me, okay?